Come, Ismene, my own dear sister, come. What more do you think could Zeus require of us to load the curse that's on the house of Oedipus? There is no sorrow left, no single shame, no pain nor tragedy which does not hound us, you and me, towards our end. And now, what's this promulgation which they say our generals lately made to all the state? Do you know? Have you heard, or are you sheltered from the news that deals a death blow to our friends?
I've heard no news of friends, Antigone, good or bad, ever since we two were stripped of two brothers in a single day, each dismissing each by each other's hand. And since the Argive army fled last night, I've heard no more, either glad or sad.
That's what I thought. That's why I brought you here, beyond the gates, that you may hear my news alone.
What mischief are you hinting at?
I think you know. Our two dear brothers, Creon is burying one to desecrate the other. Eteocles, they say, he has dispatched his proper rights as one judge fit to pass in glory to the shades. But Polynices, killed as pitilessly, an interdict forbids that anyone should bury him or even mourn. He must be left, unwept, unsepulchred, a vulture's prize, which rich and rare is sweetly scented from afar. Such is the purport of good Creon's news, for you and me, yes, me. And now he's coming here to publish it and make it plain, and anyone who disobeys will pay no trifling penalty, but die by stoning in the city walls. There's your chance to prove your caliber, or else a sad degeneracy.
You firebrand! Could I do a thing to change a situation as it is?
You could. Are you willing to share danger and suffering and...
What are you scheming at?
Take this hand of mine to bury the dead?
What? Bury him and flout the interdict?
He is my brother still, and yours, though you would have it otherwise. But I shall not abandon him.
What? Challenge Creon to his face?
He has no right to tamper with what's mine.
Sister, please, please. Remember how our father died. Hated, in disgrace, wrapped in horror of himself, his own hands stabbing out his sight, and how his mother-wife-in-one twisted off her earthly days with cord. And thirdly, how our two brothers, in a single day, each achieved for each a suicidal nemesis. And now, we two are left. Think how much worse our end will be than all the rest if we defy our sovereign's edict and his power. Remind yourselves that we are women, and as such not made to fight with men. For might, unfortunately, is right, makes us bow to things like this and worse. Therefore, shall I beg the saints below to judge me leniently as one who yields to force? I bend before authority. It does not do to meddle.
I will not press you anymore. I wouldn't want you as a partner if you asked. Go, do what you please. I go to bury him. How sweet to die in such pursuit, to rest loved by him whom I have loved, sinner of a holy sin, with longer time to charm the dead than those who live. For I shall abide forever there. So go and please your fantasy. Call it wicked what the gods call good.
You know I don't do that. I'm just too weak to war against the state.
Make your apologies. I go to raise a tomb above my dearest brother.
Poor girl, now you frighten me.
Don't fear for me. Be anxious for yourself.
At least tell no one what you do. Keep it dark, and I shall keep
Oh,
it
tell it! Tell it! Shout it out! I'll hate your silence more than if you told the world.
So fiery. The business that chills?
Perhaps, but I'm doing what I must.
Yes, more than must. And you are doomed to fail.
Well, then I'll fail, but I won't give up before.
Don't plunge into such a hopeless enterprise.
Urge me so, and I shall hate you soon. The dead will justly hate you too. Say that I'm mad, and madly let me risk the worst that I can suffer, and the best, a death which martyrdom can render blessed.
Go then, if you must, toward your end. fool, wonderful fool, and loyal friend. His wings, their shields of snow. His crest, their helmets in the sun.
He stooped above our towers, gaped above our gates. His hungry spears hovered. Then before he gorged and glutted on our blood, before Hephaestus with his pitch and flame had seized our crown of towers, all the din that Ares loves was rended round his rear, and panic turned his flank. The fight came on, a dragon-breathing foe.
The braggart's pompous tongue is hated most by Zeus. In seeing them advance superb, in clink of gold, he struck their first man down with fire, before he bawled triumph from the walls.
Swung down in swift reverse, this lunatic in haste, who came to breathe out fire and hurricanes of haste, fell in a flaming arc, his brandished torch all quenched. Great Ares like a war-horse field, ubiquitous his bounding strength. Our helper in the field, trampling in the dust, havoc that he dealt with several dooms.
7 champions dueled with 7 at the 7 gates and gave their panoplies to Zeus, save 2, the fatal 2, who sharing parents shared their fall, brother killing brother.
But now that the triumph, the loudest of triumphs, oh joy-bearing triumph, has come to our Thebes, the city of chariots proud, why now let us chase the memory far away of the wars that are past? Come call on the gods with song and with dance, all through the night at the temples. And Bacchus shall lead the round with his shouts, shaking all Thebes with his revels.
But look who comes, the lucky son of Menecius, the man the gods have made our king. What new vicissitudes of state do vex him now? Why has he sent a herald to our summons?
Gentlemen, the gods have graciously steadied again our ship of state, which storms have terribly tossed. And now I've called you here, privately, because of course I know your loyalty to all the house of Laius. How again when Oedipus was king, your duty never faltered, and when he fell, you still upheld his sons. But now that they have gone, sharing their double end upon a single day, mutual murder, mutual recompense, I, nearest in line, enjoy the scepter and the throne. Now, of course, there is no way to tell the character and mettle of a man until you see him govern. Nevertheless, I am the kind of man who can't and could never abide the tongue-tied ruler who through fear is shy of sound advice. I find intolerable the man who puts his country second to his friend. For instance, if I saw, and God's my witness, danger heading for the state, I would speak out. I cannot bear make my country's enemy my private friend, for knowing as I do, Our country is the ship that bears us safe. There are no friends aboard who sabotage. So there you have my principles by which I govern. And in accord with them is the proclamation you heard just now. That Antigone, who died in arms for Thebes, shall have a glorious funeral, as befits a hero going to join the noblest dead. But his brother, Polyneices, who came from exile, breathing fire against the city of his fathers and its shrines, he who came to drag the rest of us away as slaves. I have sent the edict out that none shall bury him or even mourn. He must be left, all ghastly where he fell, a corpse for dogs to maul and vultures pick his bones. You see the kind of man I am. And let catch me putting traitors upon pedestals beside the loyal man. I'll honor him alone, alive or dead, who honors Thebes.
Your disposition is quite clear, son of Vinicius, Creon. Touching friend, an enemy of this our city, we know you have the power to wreak your will upon the living and the dead.
Then see to it that my injunctions are performed.
Put the burden on some younger man.
No. Sentries are already posted at the corpse.
Then what exactly do you want us to do?
Merely see there are no infringements of the law.
No lunatic is going to welcome death.
And death it is. But greed of gain can often make men fools.
King, I won't pretend I come at breakneck speed, all out of breath. I kept on stopping in my tracks to think and turning back. I held committee meetings with myself. You fool, I said. You're heading straight for the lion's mouth, sir. Blockhead, what are you waiting for? If Creon gets the news from someone else, you're done. So I come, scurrying at a snail's pace down the short path which now is long. The forward voice in charge. And here I am, tell a tale which makes no sense, which anyhow I'll tell. Because I do believe nothing bad can happen that isn't on one's ticket.
Come to the point. What's all the fuss about?
No, wait. Let me brief you first. I didn't do it. Never saw who did. It isn't right that I should take the blame.
Shoot your arrow, man. Don't hedge about. You must have something very odd to say.
You know bad news improves if kept a little.
Get on with it, I say, and go.
Well, I'll tell you. The body. Someone's just buried it and gone. After sprinkling dust on it and done the other pious things.
What do you mean? Who'd have dared?
Don't ask me, sir. There's not a trace of pick or mattock. All the ground is baked, unbroken. No rut of wheels or sign of human hands. When the sentry of the morning watch pointed to it, there it was at dawn, the corpse, a horrid mystery. All veiled, not buried, lightly veiled with ritual dust its obsequies. No scavenger of prey, no night-marauding dog had left its mark. Then, recriminations flew. Guard denouncing guard until the lot of us came near to blows. There was no evidence to clinch the fight or pin the blame on anyone. Nobody would confess. So, nobody was criminal. And everyone was innocent and called upon the gods and challenged everyone to handle red-hot irons and walk through fire to prove he neither did, connived at, knew this perpetrated deed. Well, one of us at last cut through the deadlock, saying, Creon must be told, which made us bend our heads and stare. We could not contradict, yet knew that one of us must go and tell him, which is me. We cast the dice, and here I am, unwelcome, unwilling, and a most unhappy messenger of hapless news.
Sire, I have misgivings from the first that this is more than purely natural.
Enough! You make me furious with such senile daughter remarks. You really think they care two hoots, the gods, about this corpse? Next you'll say they make it a priority to bury him in state, and thank them for burning their altars, sacking shrines, scouting laws, and raping all the land. As if the gods were to compliment the bad. What utter nonsense. No. Far from this. The culprits are a group of grumblers within the town, who from the first opposed my edict, and in secret wagged their stiff-necked heads against my yoke. They have sent away my guards with bribes. Money. Money is a currency that's rank. Money levels cities to the ground. Corrupts the honest heart to shifty ways. Makes men crooked connoisseurs of vice. But all these hirelings, every one of them will pay the price he's bargained for. I swear it by Almighty Zeus. And if you fail to find the man and stand him here before my eyes, you'll find that Hades shall not yet receive your soul, till first you hanged upon a cross and told me everything. That, perhaps, will teach you where to look for profit, and that the gold can glisten from any evil source. Money never makes as many as it mars.
Sir, may I have another word, or do I go?
Can't you see your very voice distresses me?
In the ear, or in the conscience?
What business is it of yours to analyze me?
Because my voice only hurts your ear. Your conscience is affected by the deed.
My God, what a born chatterbox!
Maybe, but I didn't do the deed.
No! You just sold yourself for silver.
What can one do when even right reason's wrong?
A logic chopper and a wit. All right, but don't imagine that will save your skin. If you fail to find the man who did this burial, you'll find that cheating does not pay.
Well, let's hope he's found, but caught or not, and only chance can tell. You won't find me coming back again. My late miraculous escape still takes my breath away. I owe the gods unbounded gratitude.
Creation is a marvel, and man its masterpiece. He scuds before the southern wind, between the loud white piling swell. He drives his thoroughbreds through earth, perpetual great goddess inexhaustible, exhausting her each year. The light-balanced, light-headed birds he snares, wild beasts according to their kind. In his nets the deep-sea fish are caught, O mastermind of man. The free forest animal he herds, the roaming upland deer, the shaggy horse he braves to yoke, the mountain-powered bull. He's trained his agile thoughts, volatile as air, to civilizing words. He's roofed against the sky, the javelin crystal frosts the arrow lancing rays. All fertile in resource, he's provident for all, not beaten by disease. All but death, and death he never cures. Beyond imagining he is wise, through labyrinthine ways, both good and bad. Distinguished in his city, when he is law-abiding, pious, but displaced when he promotes unsavory ambition. And then, I want no part with him, no parcel of his thoughts.
What visitation do I see from heaven? One I wish I could deny. I'm amazed. It is Antigone. What? They bring you here in charge? Poor Antigone, daughter of unlucky Oedipus. Were you rash enough to cross the king? Did they take you here in your folly? Here she is, the culprit, caught red-handed in the act of burying him. But where is Creon?
Coming from the house, and just in time.
Just in time for what?
Majesty, it's most unwise, I find, ever to promise not to do a thing. Our second thoughts undo our first. Now, look at me. I could have sworn I'd not come scurrying back after being almost skinned alive by all your flailing threats. Yet here I am, forsworn, and bring this girl. And all because I'm drunk with glad surprise, yes, rushing to my head like wine, at having caught her at her obsequies. No throwing dice this time, no. The lucky prize is absolutely mine. So take her, king, she's yours. Try her, judge her as you want, but I expect to be dismissed at once, cleared entirely of this tiresome affair.
Tell me first, where and how you found her.
She was burying the man, now you know.
Is that true? Are you serious?
I tell you, I saw her burying the forbidding corpse. Is that plain?
But how actually was she taken and surprised?
Well, it was like this. After we had returned to the spot, your most unpleasant menaces still ringing in our ears, we dusted the earth from off the body and laid it bare. It was all soft and clammy. Then we sat on the brow of the hill, to windward of the stench, and kept each other ready, up to mark with threats on anyone who nodded. So we watched until the round and blazing sun began to scorch, now halfway in his heaven. Then, quite suddenly, a whirlwind swept across the plain and hid the sky with choking dust and stripped the woods. We had to shut our eyes to bear its virulence. When at last it had cleared, there stood the vision of this girl. Her poignant cries came sharp and bitter as a bird's that finds its nest all pillaged and its fledglings gone. So was her shock. Her execrations, sobs when she saw the body buried. Then, immediately, she scoops up earth and sprinkles it. Then, holding high a shapely brazen urn, pours 3 libations out to celebrate the dead. We swooped at sight and closed upon her quarry. She did not flinch, and when we charged her with her past and present crimes, she did not contradict. It made me glad and sad, relief from my escape, yet some distress to see a friend in trouble. When all said and done, however, the safety of one's own sweet skin comes first.
Come, girl. You, with downcast eyes. Do you plead innocent or guilty to these things?
Guilty. I deny not a thing.
You, sir, you can go. Scot-free of all these serious imputations. Now tell me, Antigone, as briefly as you can, did you know an edict had forbidden this?
Of course I do. Was it not publicly proclaimed?
So you chose flagrantly to disobey my law.
Naturally, since Zeus never promulgated such law. nor will you find that justice publishes such laws to man below. I never thought your edicts had such force, they nullify the laws of heaven, which unwritten, not proclaimed, can boast a currency that everlastingly is valid. And I, whom no man's frown can frighten, am far from risking heaven's frown by flouting means. I need no trumpeter from you to tell me I must die. We all die anyway. And if this hurries me to death before my time, why such a death is gain. Yes, surely gain to one so overwhelmed with trouble. Therefore, I can go to meet my end without a trace of pain. But had I left the body of my mother's son unburied where he lay, that would hurt. For this, I feel no twinges of regret. If you think I am a fool, perhaps it is because a fool is judge.
My word, the daughter is as headstrong as the father. Submission is a thing she's never learned.
You wait and see. The toughest will is first to break, like hard, untempered steel that snaps and shivers when fresh from off the forge. And I have sometimes seen high-mettled horses, curved but just a bit. One who is my neighbor's slave can ill afford to put on airs. Yet this girl, already versed in disrespect when first she disobeyed my law, now adds a second insult, vaunts it in my face. Oh, she's the man, not I, if she can walk away unscathed. I swear I hardly care if she be my sister's child, or linked to me more closely by blood than any member of my hearth and home. She and her sister will not yet escape the direst penalty. I say the sister too! I charge her as accomplice to this burial. Servants, go fetch her. I saw her whimpering in there just now, all gone to pieces. So does remorse blurt out the secret sin. And yet I think the opposite is worse. Crime detected, glorifying crime.
Is there something more you want, or just my life?
Not a thing, by God. Gives me what I want.
Why dawdle then? Your conversation is hardly something I enjoy, or could, nor mine be more acceptable to you. And yet, it ought to be. Where else could I win respect and praise more validly than this? Burial of my brother? Not a man here would deny it if his tongue were not locked in fear. Unfortunately, dictatorship, blessed in so much else beside, can lay the law down any way it wants.
Your view is hardly shared by all these Stevens here.
Oh, they think as I, but trim their tongues to you.
Are you not ashamed to differ from such men?
There's no shame to reverence relatives.
And the other duelist who died, was he no relative?
He was, and of the same mother and same father.
So slighting one, you would salute the other.
The dead man would not agree with you on this.
Surely, if you make him co-honored with the Black Guard.
It was his brother, not his slave, that died.
Yes, and ravaging our land. And he fell as its champion.
Hades makes no distinction in its rights and honors.
The just and unjust do not urge an equal claim.
The crime, who knows, may be called a virtue there.
Not even death can metamorphose hate to love.
No, nor decompose a love to hate.
Curse you. Go find the element of your love down there. No woman, while I live, shall govern me.
See where Ismene comes, crying from the palace gates, her face all flushed. A sister's tears are breaking rains upon her cheeks and from her eyes, her loveliness a shadow.
Come, you serpent! Secret lurker in my home, who who sucked my blood while I nurtured you two sister vipers at my throne. Speak. Confess your part in burying me. Or do you dare abjure complicity?
I did it too. If she'll allow my claim, I share with her the credit and the blame.
That is not true. You did not share with me, nor did I grant you partnership.
Now that your poor ship is buffeted, I'm not ashamed to sail the voyage at your side.
The dead of Hades knows whose act it was. I do not take to those who take to talk.
Sister, do not scorn me. Let me share your death in holy homage to the dead.
No share in work, no share in death. And I must consummate alone what I began.
What is left of life to me when you are gone?
Ask Creon. You and he are friends.
Must you jeer at me? It does not help.
You're right. It is a joyless jeering.
Tell me, even now, how can I help?
Save yourself. I shall not envy you.
Poor dear sister, let me suffer with
No!
you!
For you, choose life. And I chose death.
When all of my protests were of no avail.
We played our different parts, with different applause.
And also shared an equal shower of blame.
Look up! You live, and I died long ago when I dedicated life to serve the dead.
These girls, I swear, are crazed. One man by birth, the other by attainment.
Yes, my lord. For when misfortune comes, he sends our reason packing out of doors.
And yours went flying fast the moment you decided to have your portion with the damned.
Yet, with her gone, what portion had I left?
Do not mention her. She does not still exist.
You would even kill your own son's bride.
Let them sow his seeds in other fields.
A match like theirs will not repeat itself.
I shudder at the jades of mortal sons.
My darling Haemon, how your father heaps disgrace.
I'm sick of you and your accursed marriage.
You would not really tear away your own son's bride from him.
Let us say that death is going to come between.
I fear it's next. Her death is sealed.
Yes, by you and me. Servants, off with them and lock them up. No more Roman. They are women now. The breath of Hades, pressing close to kill, can make the bravest turn. And turn, the bravest will.
Happy the man who is not sick to the bitter day, whose house is firm against divine assault. No planted curse can creep on generations like the dark and driven surge, which, hounded from the bosom of the sea by Thracian winds, churns perpetually the ooze in waves that throw down upon the headlands, swept and parted by the storm. Its thunderous mass.
So do I see the house of Labdacus struck down, and all its generations victimized by some pursuing deity, its useless dead, and now, at last, the sun gone down in blood, the final hope of Oedipus put out in smoke and Hades' dust, the fruit of recklessness and pride.
O Zeus, what creature pits himself against thy power? Not sleep, encumbrous with his subtle net, and not the tireless moon. Thou in ancient splendor still art young when worlds are old, on Mount Olympus.
Let ambition touch his wings on many flowers, blessed to one he comes as hope all ruined to another, lured to fly too high. His life too late, hot ashes now beneath his feet.
For wisdom and the sage said long ago, if evil good appear to any, fate is near. Unscathed he'll blithely go, then pride will bring him low.
Look, here Haemon comes, your youngest son, driven perhaps by pangs of grief for her his sentenced bride, a bitter, thwarted bridegroom.
We shall see in a moment, without the need of seers. Son, you come provoked against your father for the death warrant of your would-be bride, or still, my loved son, whatever I may do.
Father, I am your loving son, and you, the wise prospector of my ways for whom I must follow. No marriage I can make would ever match the good of your abiding counsel.
Well spoken, son. A son's first study is unremitting deference to his father's will. Such is a parent's prayer. To see grow up a race of filial sons to deck his home, who hate those he hates, give his friends the self-same honor that the father gives. He who rears a brood of worthless sons, what can one say of him but that he breeds troubles for himself and gossip for the ill-disposed? And so, my son, you must not lose your balance for a woman's sake. You must not have a joy that's cheap and cools. You need a woman for your bed and board. No wound is worse than counterfeited love. She is your evil genius. Throw her out, and let her go and find a mate in Hades. She alone of all the city stands convicted of rebellion. I must not be made to break my word to Thebes. She dies. So let her plead to Zeus the sanctity of kindred ties. How can I, if I nurse sedition in my house, not foster it outside? And if a man can keep his home in hand, he proves his competence to keep the state. But one who breaks laws and flouts authority, I will never allow. For whom the state appoints to govern, he must be listened to in little things, in just things, in things that are opposite. And I am confident that one who thus obeys would make a perfect subject or a perfect king, who even in the thick of flying spears would not desert his post, but staunchly stands at his comrade's side. So let us then defend authority, not be ousted by some girl. If yield we must, then better yield to man than have it said we were worsted by a woman.
What you say, unless my wits have turned to sea, appears to be to make sense.
Father, reason is God's greatest gift to man. I would not dream of criticizing yours, but other men can reason rightly too. As your son, you see, I find myself marking every word and act and comment of the crowd, gauge the temper of the simple citizen who dares not risk your scowl to freely speak his mind. But I from the shadows hear them, hear a whole city's sympathy for this girl, because no woman has faced such unreasonable, so cruel a death for such a generous act. She would not leave her brother lying on the battlefield for carrion birds and dogs to maul. Should not her name be written in gold, they say. So, the whisper grows. You know, Father, how I prize your happiness. For sons and fathers crown each other's glory with each other's fame. Then, don't entrench yourself in your own opinion as if everyone else were wrong. The kind of man that thinks that he is right, that his opinion, his pronouncements are the final word, when once exposed shows nothing there. But a wise man has much to learn without a loss of dignity. He must not strain. You see the trees in flood time? how they bend along the torrent's course, how their twigs and branches do not snap. But stubborn trees are torn up, roots and all. And sailing too, when fresh weather blows, a skipper who will not slacken sail turns turtle. He finishes his voyage and beams up. So cool your anger and change your minds. May be young, but not without some sense. Let men be wise by instinct, if they can. But when this fails, be wise by good advice.
Sire, you should listen if he speaks judiciously. And you, sir, too. You both have spoken to the point.
You mean to tell me that men of my years have to learn to think by taking notes from men of his?
And nothing that's not just. It is my merit, not my years, that count.
Your merit is to foment lawlessness.
You know I do not plead for criminals.
So this damsel here is not a criminal.
The whole of Thebes says no.
And I must let the mob dictate my policy.
See who now is speaking like a boy.
Do I rule the state or someone else?
A one-man state is no state at all.
The state is his who rules it. Is that plain?
The state that you should rule would be a desert.
This boy is obviously in a league with the girl.
I am in league with you. Are you a woman?
You reprobate. I'd open loggerheads with your father.
On the contrary, you had loggerheads with open justice.
Oh, my sin. Of course, the discharge of my rights.
What rights? When you trample on the rights of God.
Insolent cunt! Woman's lackey.
Lackey to nothing of which I am ashamed.
Not ashamed to speak up for that troll?
I speak for you, for me, and for the gods below.
You shall not marry her alive.
Well, then dead. One death beckoning to another.
You threaten me.
One cannot threaten empty air.
You shall regret dispensing wisdom you could ill spare.
If you were not my father, I'd say you were perverse.
You tell me that. By heaven. Wait. You shall not rant and jeer at me without your chastisement. Off with the wretched girl. I say she dies in front of him. In front of her bridegroom's eyes.
She shall not die! Don't think it by my side. And you shall never see me again. I commit you raving to your chosen friends.
Gone, Your Majesty. The man has gone. He is young. His grief will make him desperate.
Let him dare. Let him dream of acts as superhuman as a fiend's. That girl he shall not snatch from death.
You do not mean to kill them both?
You're right. Not the one who did not meddle.
What kind of death do you plan?
I'll take her down a path. Untrod by man. I'll hide her, living in rock-hewn vault, with ritual food, enough to clear the taint of murder from the city's name. I'll leave her pleading to her favorite god, Hades. He may charm her out the way to life. Or perhaps she'll learn, though late, the cost of homage to the dead is labor lost.
the seas, pervade the hills, and in a shepherd's hut you lie, shadowing immortal gods, you dog ephemeral man, madness your possession. You infect all common sense. You sting us to the strife of kinsmen fighting kin.
The bride has but to glance to win with your lyrical light a place among the laws. When Aphrodite laughs, you win, O love. And now you turn on me, unman my loyalty, unloose my tears to see Antigone pass her wedding bower, death's chamber, pass so easily.
See me, friends and citizens, on this last walk. The sun's light snuffed out with my dower, and death, leading me alive to Acheron where all must sleep. No wedding march, no bridal song can cheer my way, whom Hades, lord of the dark lake, weds.
And yet you walk with fame, bedecked in praise towards the dead man's cave. No sickness severed you, no sword incited struck. All mistress of your fate, you move alive, unique to Hades' halls.
Oh, but I heard what happened to that poor Phrygian girl. The poor foreigner, child of Tantalus, who clings in stone, captured, petrified like ivy on the heights of Sepilus, where all the rains, they say, the flying snow weather her wasting form. I feel her trance, her lonely exodus in mine.
And she a goddess born of gods, while we are mortals born of men. What greater glory for a woman's end, to partner gods in death, who partner gods in life.
Ah, now you laugh at me. Thebes, Thebes, by all our fathers' gods, you, my own proud chariot city, can you not wait till I'm gone? And you, sweet Tiresias streams and Theban groves, at least be witnesses to me with love, who walk in dismal passions to my heavenly tomb, unwept, unjustly judged, displaced from every home, disowned by both the living and the dead.
Perhaps you aim too high. You dashed your foot on fate where justice is enthroned. You fell a plummet fall to pay a father's sin.
You touch my wounds, my memories, make fresh again my tears. My father's threefold curse brought on the blighted house of Labdacus, that horrid bridal bed. My fated mother sleeping with her son to father me in incest. Parents, here I come, home at last, not wed, no broken spell. Brother, when you blindly made your match, you made your death, despoiling me of life.
Pious is as pious does. Where might is right, there is no right. You walk to death with open eyes.
No one at my side, no one to regret. Uncelebrated love is all I have for this last walk. And you, I of the blessed sun, I shall miss you soon. No tears will mourn me dead, no friend to cry.
Listen, you. Panegyrics and dirges go on forever if given the chance. Dispatch her at once, I say. Seal up the tomb. Let her choose a death at leisure, or perhaps an underground life forlorn. We wash our hands of this girl, except to take her from the light.
Come to my wedding chamber, come. You sealed off habitations of the grave. My many family, dead, finished, fetched in a final muster to Persephone. I am the last to come and lost most of all. My life still in my hands, and yet I come. I hope I come, towards a father's love, beloved by my mother, and by you, my darling brother, loved. Yes, all of you, whom these my hands have washed, sped, and prepared with ritual to your burials. And now, sweet Polyneices, dressing you I've earned this recompense, though richly honored you, the just will say. No husband, dead and gone, no children lisping mother could ever have forced me to withstand the city to its face. On what principle do I assert so much? Just this. A husband dead, another can be found. A child replaced. But once a brother's lost, mother and father dead and buried too, no other brother can be born or grows again. That is my principle, which Creon stigmatized as criminal. My principle for honoring you, my dearest brother. So taken, so am I led away, a spinster still, uncelebrated, barren and barefoot of joys, no children to my name, an outcast, stripped of sympathy. I go alive towards these sepulchres of death. What ordinance? What law of heaven broken? What God left for such as me to cast my eyes towards? And whom addressed when sacraments must now be cast as sacrilege? And if these things are smiled upon by heaven, why when I'm dead I'll know I sinned. But if I find the sin lies with them, God spare them retribution much more terrible than what they now unjustly heap on me.
See where she goes, headlong driven by the capricious gusts of her own spirit.
Putting to disgrace her loitering guards, who shall pay for it.
There is death in that remark, the sound of death.
And by no hope or euphony of mine can otherwise your finish be described.
Ah, Thebes, I am going now, going. Divine ancestral Thebes. Cast but a glance your prince's eyes towards this royal remnant. Me. See my martyrdom. See its origin. Piety to pity.
Hidden from the sun, housed behind brass doors. Dane's beauty too was locked away, her nuptial cell a tomb. And she, my child, yes she, a royal daughter too, the rare receptacle of Zeus's golden seed.
O destiny, march mysterious force. No mound of coins, no panoplies of war, no ramparts keep you out. And through the dark sea booming, no ship escapes.
The savage son of Darius, that Adonian king, was put in prison, sealed by Dionysus in a cavern, for his jeering, where his bawling quietly faded into echoes. Learn to know in final meekness, Bacchus whom his madness baited, when he quenched the mad Bacchus, and offended all the muses of the flute.
Then there is the nightmare story seen by Ares from the Euxine seashore. Seen the bride of Phineus, jealous, maddened, stabbing Cyclus both his sons, to plunge the sharpness of her spindle into their eyes. see in their vacant plea for vengeance, plead in pools of sockets bloody staring.
So they rotted, wrecked completely, wasting sorrow for their mother's stupid mating, which his noble birth from Erechtheus could not save. And she, a daughter, cradled by Boreas in the caverns, in the tempest, lunging swiftly, bolting like a colt from heaven, shot precipitate above the hills.
Look, Antigone, they had her. Finally, the fates, they struck her down.
Theban rulers, here we come. One pair of eyes, a double road, and the blind man led by others.
What news, old Tiresias?
I shall tell you. Listen to the prophet's words.
Have I ever failed to listen to your words?
Therefore, have you safely piloted the state?
And gladly do I owe my debt to you.
Then beware. You are standing once again upon the razor's edge.
How so? Your words and aspect frighten me.
Listen, I'll read the signs and make them plain. I was sitting in my ancient chair of augury, where all the birds gather by the swamp, and suddenly a noise not heard before assaults my ears. A panic screaming and a pandemonium deafening jargon, leaks and talons whirling, tearing, pattern of wings that shocked me as a portent. At once I kindled sacrifice, but the festus fanned no leaping flame. Instead, a sort of sweat distilled from off the thigh pad, slid in smoke upon the sputtering fire. The coal bladders burst and spurted up. Grease oozed down and left the thigh bones bare. These are the signs I learned from off this boy, omens from a ruined sacrifice. He is my eyes as I am yours. Yes, the city sickens Creon. These the symptoms, yours the cussedness that caused them. Dogs and crows all blooded, carrying desecrated Chaerons to the hearths and altars. Chaeron from the poor, unburied son of Oedipus. Burnt offerings go up in stench. The gods are dumb. The birds of omen cannot sing. The obscene vultures flop away with crops all gorged on human flesh. Think, son, think. To err is human. True. And only he is cursed who, having sinned, will not repent, will not repair. He is a fool, a proved and stubborn fool. Give death his due, and do not kick a corpse. Where is renowned to kill a dead man twice? Believe me, I advise you well. It should be easy to adopt advice which is entirely for your good estate.
Old man. You pot away at me like all the West, as if I were a bullseye. Now you aim your seal craft at me. Bargain away! The silver gilt of sawdust, all the gold of India is not enough to buy this man a grave. Not even if Zeus's eagles come and fly away with carrion morsels to their throne. Even such a threat of such a taint is not enough to win his body burial. It takes much more than human remains to desecrate the majesty of God. Old Tiresias. The most reverend fall from grace when lies are sold, wrapped in honeyed words.
Creon, is no one left to take the heart that...
Let's have the platitude.
That prudence is the best of all our wealth?
As folly is the worst of all of our woes.
Yes, infectious folly, and you are sick with it.
I have no intention of encouraging a fishwife set to with the seer.
Which is what you do when you say I sell my prophecies.
As prophets do, a money-grubbing race.
Or as kings, who grub for money in the dung.
You do realize you are guilty of late majesty.
Majesty. Yes, Thanks to me, you are King of Thebes.
You are not without your conjuring tricks, but still a crook.
Go on. You will drive me to divulge something that I can...
Out with it! But not for money, please.
Unhappily for you, this cannot be bought.
Don't expect to bargain with my wits.
All right then. Take it if you can. A corpse for a corpse. The price. Flesh for flesh. One of your own begotten. The sun shall not run his course for many days before you pay. You plunged a child of light into the dark, entombed the living with the dead. The dead. Dismissed, unmourned, denied a grave. A corpse unhallowed and defeated of his destiny below, where neither you nor gods above must meddle. You have trussed your thumbs. Do not be surprised that heaven, yes, and hell have sent the furious loose to lie in wait for you, ready with the punishments you have engineered for others. Does this sound like flattery for sale? Yet a little while, and you shall wake to weeping and gnashing of teeth in the house of Creon. Instant state they'll rise, those other cities whose mangled sons receive their obsequies from dogs and prowling jackals, from some filthy vultures flapping to alight above their buried horses to bring them home, desecration reeking from its beak. There, you asked, and I have shot my angry arrows. I aimed at your intemperate heart. I did not miss. Come, boy, take me home. Let him spew his color over younger men. He'll learn a little modesty in time, a little meekness soon.
There's the finest flower for his face. He is gone, but my fragrance was once a shining flag before he ever stood city to a false alarm.
I know. You point the horns of my dilemma. It's hard enough to eat my words, and harder still to risk catastrophe through stubborn pride.
Son of Vinicius, be advised in time.
Advised to do what? Speak, thou shalt listen.
Go, free the damsel from her vault, then entomb her lonely body lying stark.
You advise that. Really think I must?
Must, King, and quickly too. The gods provoke, never wait to mow men down.
How it goes against the grain of all one's heart's desires. I cannot fight with destiny.
Quickly, go and do it. Don't trust to others.
Yes. Yes, I go at once. Servants! Servants on the double! You, there! Hurry to the hill and fetch the rest. Bring axes all. My mind's made up. I will not be slow to let loose myself from the tomb. To value life, oh, my regrets. One must value law.
We urge you by 100 names, O flower of Semele's wedding, son of Zeus and son of thunder, singer of sweet Italy. Call you regent of the rebels, in the prophecy laps of Deo's blades. Call you Bacchus haunting Thebes, mother of the Bacchanals. By Ismene's quicksilver stream, where the dragon's teeth are sown.
Bacchus and your nymphs Bacchus, dots of fire, breathing torches by Castalia's springs. Mounting smoke above the crescent forks call you coming from the hills of Nisa, green with vineyards green, like ivy dripping to the shore.
Call you to your favorite city, city of your thunder-ravished mother, to a people dying dying straits. Come quickly, hurry from Parnassus.
Come, you choreographer, master of the pulsing stars and voices of the night. O Prince, appear, you Zeus begotten. All your choric troop proceeding, midnight maenads in their frenzy. Come, Iacchus, oh come!
Men of the house of Cadmus and of Amphion, how rash is it to envy others or despair? For the luck we adulate in one today, tomorrow is another's tragedy. There is no horoscope for man. Take Creon. He, if anyone I thought was enviable. He saved this land from all our enemies, attained the pomp and circumstance of king. His children decked like olive branches round his throne. And now it is undone. Undone. And what is left is not called life, but living death. His wealth, his kingly state, is nothing to him now with gladness gone. Vanity of vanities, the shadow of a shade.
What further news do you bring of royal ruin?
Death, living guilty, the dead.
Who is striking? Who is stricken? Say.
Haemon's gone, blood spilt by suicide.
Suicide? Or by his father's hand?
Both, driven to it by his father's murdering.
Oh, prophet, your prophecies come true.
So stands the case. Draw your own conclusions.
Look, Creon's queen, Eurydice, unhappily is here. Is it chance, or has she heard the death knell of her son?
Yes, good citizens, all of you, I heard. Even as I went to supplicate the goddess Pallas with my prayers, the gate was not unlocked, for I fell fainting at the sound of moaning that I heard. My maidens bore me up. I was stunned. Tell me everything, however bad. I am no stranger to the voice of sorrow.
Sweet lady, I was there. I shall not try to camouflage a detail of the truth. For where is the point of comfort in a lie so soon found out? The truth is always best. I went on foot with Creon to the plateau, where Polynices lay abandoned still, all mauled by dogs. And there we prayed the goddess of the great divine, and also begged for Pluto's mercy too. We sprinkled him with holy water, lobbed fresh branches down, and lit a fire to burn away his poor remains. We heaped a monument to him, a mound of his native earth, then turned away to open up the vaults in which there lay a virgin, waiting on a bed of stone for her bridegroom, death. And one of us, ahead, heard voices like a deep despair echo from that hideous place of honeymoon. He hurried back and told the king, who then drew near and seemed to recognize those hollow sounds. He gave a bleat of fear. Oh, are my heart's forebodings true? I cannot bear to tread this path. My son's voice strikes my ears. Hurry, hurry, servants, to the tomb, and through those stones once pried away, peer down into that cadaverous gap and tell me if it is Haemon's voice. Oh, tell me I am heavenly deceived. His panic sent us flying to the vaults, and in the farthest corner we could see her, hanging with a noose of linen round her neck, and leaning on her, hugging his poor lover lost to Hades. Haemon, bridegroom, broken, cursed the father who had robbed him, pouring out his tears of sorrow. Creon burst into a fit of crying when he saw him, hurried to him, sobbing, "Poor misguided boy, what have you done? What were you thinking of? And now? Come to me, my son, your father begs you." But the boy stared at him with hatred, spat for answers in his face, and drew a double-hilted sword and lunged towards his father as he fled. Then, desperate, he pressed against that sword and drove it home, halfway up the hilt into his side, and conscious still, but failing, limply folded close Antigone into his arms, choking blood in crimson showers upon her waxen face. Corpse-wracked with love in corpse he lies, married not in life, but Hades. Lesson to the world,
that folly wreaks a havoc measureless to man. What does her exit mean? The mistress went silent, with no word of sadness or of comfort. I am troubled too, and yet I hope the reason is she shrinks from public sorrow for her son. She is not unwise, she is discreet. You may be right, but I do not trust extremes of silence or of grief. Let me go into the house and see. Extremes of silence, as you say, are sinister. Her heart is broken and can hide some dangerous design. Look, the king himself draws near, his load in a kind of muteness, crying out his sorrow. Dare we say it? From a madness of misdoing, started by himself and by no other.
You're blind, sin of mine! There is no absolution for perversity that dragged the son to death. Murdered son, father, murdering son, my son! Cut down, dead, for life that's disappeared, and by no youthful foolishness, but by my fault.
Late, too late. Your reason's right.
Yes, taught by bitterness. Oh, some god has cast a spell. Is it be hard from heaven? Cruelty grow red, slashed me down. My joys trod me in the earth. Man, oh how you suffer!
Sire, you are laden. You, the author, loading. Half your sorrow in your hands, the other half still in your house, soon to be unhidden.
What have more coming?
Your queen is dead. Mother for her son, the suicidal thrust dead for whom she lived.
Oh, Hades, pitiless receiver! Your mercy dwindles, does it? Must you bring me words that crush me utterly? I was dead, and you still killed me. Slaughter was piled high, and don't tell me you come to pile higher. Son, dead. And a wife.
Look, the doors are open. Look.
Oh, fate! A second death blow! My bitter cup can have no second brimming. Yet the sight I see laid out blasts a second sorrow. My son just lifted up a corpse, and now a corpse's mother.
Her heart was shattered, and her hand drove keen the dagger. At the altar, there she fell, and darkness swamped her drooping eyes, when cries of sorrow, sobbing for Tiresias, long since nobly dead son, and for this other, mingled with her dying gasp, and curses on you, killer.
Heart is sick with fear. Will no one lance a two-edged sword through this bleeding seat of sorrow?
She charged you rightly. Yes, this lifeless thing. You double filicidal killer.
God, this sin, my sin, can never be forgiven. I killed her. I can own no alibi. Take me, servants, and let me be forgotten.
Good advice at last. If anything be good and so much bad, but badness needs good riddance.
Oh, let it come! Let it appear! Let it break. My last and golden day. The best. The last. The worst. Probably tomorrow.
Tomorrow is tomorrow. Future cares have future cures. And we must mind today.
Well, my prayer was that. The prayer of my desires.
Your prayers are done. Man cannot flatter fate, and punishments must come.
And lead me, please, away. A rash, weak, foolish man, a man of sorrows, who killed you, son, so blindly, and you, my wife, so blind. Where can I look? Where hope for help when everything I touch is dust? And death has leapt upon my life.
Where wisdom is, there happiness will crown. A piety that nothing will corrode. But high and mighty words and ways are flogged to humbleness, till age, beaten to its knees, at last is wise.